Thank you so much. I would like to acknowledge our Honorable Minister. Thank you so much for giving me this opportunity to CZI to be able to speak. I'm going to align my talk briefly, though, with Professor Mbowa's conversation. Maybe let me introduce myself before I go into my talk. My name is Prechard Mhako. I'm an entrepreneur, and I help entrepreneurs and startups develop concrete, actionable strategies, better access to markets and finance. And I mentioned startups primarily because startups are entities that help economies reinvent themselves. And at the University of Zimbabwe, where Professor is, we have been engaging with some of their startups. And what I can tell you is that the stuff that is happening at some of these hubs that have been introduced is amazing. But the missing link is that it's disconnected from industry. We've got these brilliant young people who are coming up with solutions for industries for which they have no complete understanding over. There's no connection between the academia at present and industry. So you get all of these solutions that have no product market fit. They're designed, they spend a lot of time, but they're not interacting with the end users, and in this case, industry. And I talk about industry in this context because industry in Zimbabwe, we've had a lot of talk around reviving industry. And I love reviving industry, but I think it falls short of the modern realities that we are experiencing. Because the reviving industry speaks to nostalgia. It speaks to where we've been. So when we talk about reviving industry, we are talking about reviving something that used to be. And I want to be honest with all of you that where we used to be is probably dead. Half of it is probably dead. We've got to start thinking in terms of where we want to go. And to think in terms of where we want to go, we've got to start thinking in terms of innovation, as Professor has indicated. And innovation is as simple as, what can I eliminate? What can I reduce? What can I raise? What can I create? And as businesses begin to answer those questions in terms of what they can eliminate, raise, reduce, or create, then they're innovating. And I think we've done a disservice to ourselves because we've been paying lip service to innovation. And also we've been looking at innovation from the wrong end. So I know a lot of businesses right now, you've got your social media, you've got your website, and you're looking at that as innovation. But I can tell you that the innovation that we require to leapfrog, because we want to leapfrog, what is happening elsewhere. The innovation that we require to leapfrog what is happening elsewhere is already being made at the UZ by the young guys who are at the UZ at these hubs. But they're making it blindly, and there's no connection with a real industry. And I know some of your industries, you look at them and you say, what can we innovate? But there's a great deal that you can actually innovate and transform and renew and change. If you look at the modern world, maybe let me not say the modern world. If you look at the global north in particular, they've managed to reinvent themselves through entrepreneurs and innovators. And they are not doing so by competing with entrepreneurs and innovators. I'm talking about competing with innovators and entrepreneurs because most of the times when young people walk into your offices and they bring up a new idea, you ask them two questions. One, where has this been done before? And where has this been done before is not only the question that you're asking to new entrepreneurs who are pitching to you, it's a question that you are also asking to your own entrepreneurs who are entrepreneurs within enterprises. You're asking them, where has this been done before? And because you're asking them where this has been done before, you are making it difficult for them to justify a new trajectory. I think through intervention in entrepreneurship and innovation, we've got an opportunity to create and widen the market opportunity that exists. Reviving industry speaks to an old opportunity, which may no longer be relevant to the modern realities. So what am I saying here? I'm simply saying that we've got to rethink the way we approach innovation and entrepreneurship. I'm simply saying we've got to rethink how we are approaching institutions of higher learning. If I ask in this room, there are probably 100 of us business leaders, when last were you at a university to speak to entrepreneurs, to speak to students, to engage with them, to find out where they are, to also feed into these institutions of higher learning the kind of expectations we have. So we are a society in Zimbabwe where everyone has got their own expectation. Industry has got its own expectation. Academia has got its own expectation. Government has got its own expectation. And there's no common ground where our expectations are converging. And for as long as our expectations are not converging, we're not going to build the future of the industry we deserve. And the future of the industry we deserve, especially ahead of AFCFTA, is one that's competitive. It's one that's forward-thinking. It's one that's built upon collaboration. It's one that's creating new market opportunities for things that are there now and things that are not there. So to be able to achieve all of this, there is a strong need for collaboration. But we've got to go beyond lip service, where we come here, we talk, and then we go back to our corners and continue with business as usual. I can tell you that if we continue with business as usual, AFCFTA is coming. And I've seen what's happening in Zambia. And I've seen what's happening in Uganda. And I've seen what's happening elsewhere. And I've seen the interest that is building, in the global north because of AFCFTA. The realization is that intra-Africa trade is going to expand. And as intra-Africa trade expands, if you're outside Africa, you're going to be left out. So there are entrepreneurs outside Africa who are eyeing Africa right now as an opportunity to scale and grow. But these entrepreneurs are outside Africa, so they lack context. And that context is what we have here in Zimbabwe. But for as long as we're operating in our own little silos, and for as long as our interpretation of innovation and entrepreneurship is skewed, we're not going to benefit from the solutions that we have. We're also going to continue exporting talent. I advise a couple of startups, some of whom have gone to raise money. One of the startups that I've advised is a startup called Value Chain Farming Africa that went on to raise $35 million in Botswana. They were here in Zimbabwe, but they left. So we've got to start thinking around how do we create collaborations that are meaningful for industry, for academia, for everyone else. And this is the startup ecosystem. This is the entrepreneurship ecosystem that we are looking for. And I hear a lot of times when you talk about entrepreneurial ecosystem, we look at it as someone else. The entrepreneurial ecosystem is us. It's industry giving new startups a chance. It's industry giving new ideas a chance. It's academia making sure that when these hubs that have been recently established under the Second Republic are running, when these hubs are running, they're not running in isolation of what is happening in industry. They're actually speaking hand in glove to the needs of industry. So I wanted to comment on that, in particular, just to weigh in on what Prof was saying. So in concluding, I'm just going to say that the opportunity to reinvent is there. And if we don't reinvent, we'll continue importing things that we must export. And we'll continue exporting our talent. We'll continue exporting, things that we used to export, 20 years ago, when in actual fact, we must be building new industries and a new trajectory. And the only way to 10x, the only way to grow beyond where we are now is to incorporate innovation, to incorporate entrepreneurs. And I'm not talking about entrepreneurs who are coming from outside, entrepreneurs who are even operating within the establishment. These are your entrepreneurs. And then entrepreneurs who are outside. And I'll leave this podium with just one message to say, there are two voices that are going to matter going forward for business. No matter how much maybe government support one gets, there are two voices that are going to matter. It's the voice of the customer and it's the voice of the entrepreneur. The voice of the customer, because they're telling you where you need to go. And if you don't listen, your neighbors in South Africa who are heavily investing in innovation and entrepreneurship are coming after you. It's the voice of the entrepreneur, because he's going to show you where you need to go, where you've never been. And that entrepreneur, you've got a unique opportunity to access some of them through some of the university hubs that are being established. So I think I'll not take up much more of your time. I think I'll leave the podium for now. Thank you.